Welcome on into another edition of the Cavalier Connection podcast. Tonight we are joined by UVA legend that multiple generations will remember, Tony Covington. How are you doing tonight, Tony?
I'm doing great, man. Glad to be on.
Absolutely. So I'm going to try and get all this right. Not that you need a real introduction, but there are some listeners out there that will remember you for your playing days, like my dad and Jay. And there are some like myself and my generation who know you more for your recent work on the commentary for UVA football. So, just to give a little background to everyone, you played at UVA from 87 to 91, some big years for UVA. You started 47 out of 49 games, second team All ACC, both junior and senior years. You were part of the team that beat Clemson for the first time, as well as the only UVA football team in history to be ranked number one in the country. And then going on to your professional career, you were drafted in the fourth round of the 91 draft by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and ended up starting a large portion of your rookie year. In 92, you had the significant knee injury that cost you almost 2 seasons, but returning in the 94 season and playing the 95 season with Seattle. On top of your playing and announcing days, you are also a successful motivational speaker and author. We know you how busy you are, so we really appreciate your time. I hope I got all that right.
Pretty good. So 86 through 90.
86.
Okay.
Yeah, all good. All good. Appreciate it, though. Appreciate that. I feel the love.
There you go.
There you go. So let's jump into your UVA playing career. So what was your recruitment like as a high schooler, and what was it like playing under Coach Welsh?
So it's really interesting. I was lightly recruited initially, and then we had a game on a Friday night, and I just happened to be in the hallway outside our locker room watching, VHS, because that's what it was, VHS then. And Coach Danny Wilmer walked in. Well, I didn't know who he was, but he had a V on the front of his sweater. And we had this incredible tailback that everybody was, a lot of the teams in the country, all the ACC teams were recruiting. And he walked in and asked me about him. He said, well, tell me about Kennard Martin. I was like, oh, this is him, number 22. I said, he's amazing. So we watched a little tape, and he was like, wow, he's really good. And I said, you should also look out for number 7. And he was like, who's that? I said, that's me. And so, he came, we laughed. He came to the game that night. I balled out, and then, they were on me. Then the other ACC schools started offering, so all but Carolina. So it was cool. It was cool. And then George Welsh was, he was a different breed. We'd have run through a wall for him. I think with him, we knew what he was about, stern disciplinarian, focus, discipline, and I think he shifted a little bit as we came in, because I know our class in 86, we came in, we were a rowdy bunch. We were different, and so I think he would look at us some days like, what in the hell? And he look, as we always used to say, he'd be like, Christ, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Dude, he was hilarious, but he commanded our respect. We respected him, he respected us, and we had great results.
Oh yeah, Jay and I, we remember, and George Welsh was a treat to watch. I'm sure there's a ton of funny stories about George Welsh. You see him on the sidelines, and the team just broke an 80-yard touchdown run, and he don't look happy over there. He's thrown the hat or something, or somebody missed a block or something crazy happened. It's just entertaining.
Yeah, he was a perfectionist. He was a perfectionist. So
yeah, and we'd love to go back to those years of there was a lot of success under George Welsh, and you were part of the glory years for Virginia football. Do you have a favorite memory of playing days at Virginia?
Yeah, the Clemson win. That was something that we had been knocking at the door, for years, and it would come down to something, a missed assignment, and they would. I think the year before, it was a very competitive game, and we had a missed assignment. They broke the huddle early. Our guy didn't see that they'd broken the huddle. They threw a pass out. That was the difference in the game. It was always a physical contest with them, but finally overcoming, breaking that streak and having the crowd rush the field, man. Every college kid should have a rush the field moment. But that one was pretty amazing, and that stands out as one of the tops for me.
It's funny you said that. That was my name. Was what was that first Clemson win like, and what did you remember from it?
My bad. I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Oh no. No, that's great. Jay and I can remember where I was when y'all beat Clemson, but go ahead. It was a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, there was so many parts of that game. We felt like we dominated it. They had a couple of plays, but everybody was making plays, man. Defensively, Slade was making sacks, and DBs were making plays in the secondary. Like I said, it was always a physical game. Kirby was running hard. Nicky was running hard. I mean, we knew we belonged. We felt like they'd gotten away. It was different from that first year when I was getting redshirted and they ran us out the building. I always loved going to Clemson, quite honestly. It's just a sea of orange, and it was just, I loved it. I just remember the national anthem being sang there and the tears streaming down my face. I was just so charged and so ready to go. But I love the classic. I love the classic battles. I love the physicality of the game, and that was who we were. That Virginia football was very physical. You knew you played us. You were going to get your ass hit, and that's how we went about it. And we were about the work. John Gamble really taught us about what it takes to win, at every level. And if you're willing to put the work in, the wins will come. And so, I mean, he was very much a mentor for a lot of us, a second father, so to speak. And, he taught us how to do it the right way.
So do you have as much a disdain for Scott Sisson as Jay and I do?
Yeah, I still say he missed that damn kick too, but anyway, yeah. No love.
Yeah, and none here either. What do you remember of that classic game in 1990, the Georgia Tech game?
I remember us being absolutely dominant the first half. I mean, we were aggressive, we were attacking. They couldn't stop us on offense. They couldn't do anything versus us on defense. And I just remember in the second half of that game, we got ultra conservative on both sides of the ball. Turnover here, turnover there. They got a little bit of momentum, and they had no business being in that game. We were dominating it. So and so we were the better team. They won, but we were the better team. And that one sticks out to me still, just because we were the better team and we knew it.
Yeah. That was the game. It was like they burned the field or something.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah.
The night before.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible. But so fast forward a little bit to your NFL career. You were drafted in the 4th round. Did you have a chip on your shoulder thinking you should go earlier? I mean, your rookie year was fantastic.
Not really. I mean, for me, I just, I didn't go to UVA thinking about going to the NFL. I wanted to get the degree to get a good job. Just, with the academic reputation of the school, that was the purpose. And I just went out and loved balling on Saturday and did it well. And so when I got the opportunity, I was just like, this is really cool. And, going there, I lost my mom. My mom passed away before, like a month before I had to, a couple of weeks before I had to leave to go to Tampa as a rookie. And, she never missed a high school game. She never missed a game at Virginia, but she never got to see me physically play, in the pros. And so, it was tough, going down, not knowing anybody to earn a job. But I just fell back on the work ethic, the things that she taught me and, my dad. And so I just went about the business, and, I am that underdog, and, you're not going to outwork me. And so that's kind of how I went at it.
Oh, yeah. So what was the pre-draft process like? And did you watch the draft when that time came?
Nah, I wasn't even watching it. I got the phone call, honestly, and my Tyrone Lewis, he's like, man, he said, we're all watching the draft. your name comes across the ticker. We're trying to. He was like, well, where's Cub? Where's you know? And I was at home in the basement watching a movie. You know, I got the call, and you know, I remember Jill Hobbs said, Tony, this is Jill Hobbs from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're about to select you as the 93rd pick in the draft. You know, welcome to Tampa. And so, you know, I was happy. I ran upstairs. You know, my mom, like I said, she was going through cancer treatment at the time. And I just remember the smile on her face. I was like, you're never going to have to work again. I'm going to take care of you. And I just never forget that smile, you know, but she was gone a couple of months later.
Yeah, that certainly puts things in perspective too.
Absolutely.
Did you have a welcome to the NFL moment? Like, you know, somebody beat you on a route or you know, big hit, you know, something that was like, oh wow, you know, I'm here.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think the speed was just, you know, it was getting used to the speed of the game. There's just so much to know. And yeah, I mean, I think I fit in pretty well initially. I mean, I had some good vets there. Ricky Reynolds, I was his vet. He was a big time corner for us and a veteran. And he kind of took me under his wing. And, you know, I mean, I think that I had such work ethic coming from Virginia that when I got there, you know, I was talking trash right from the gate, just like I did at Virginia. So, I mean, that's just, you know, but I could back it up. And so Ricky would say, we haven't had anybody like you around here in a while, you know, just coming in, you know, but I just believed in me, you know, and I had a lot of success, you know, that rookie year, just going out there, just playing hard, playing physical, and making plays. The moment it wasn't too big. The game slowed down for me, and I could see things, you know, and that was just me not even really knowing how to be a pro. It was just a lot of the natural ability. So yeah, man. But you know, it was amazing. You know, some of the guys that we had on the team. You know, guys on defense that were incredible, even though we didn't have much success. I felt like I fit right in.
Right.
Awesome. So starting in 2012, you began working as an analyst for UVA football games following UVA legend Frank Quayle. What was it like that first year trying to develop your own style, but also knowing how beloved Frank was?
Well, you know, I think, you know, I ultimately had so much respect for Frank. You know, and for me, I didn't necessarily have a background in radio broadcasting, but you know, as a motivational speaker, somebody who knows the game and is passionate about his alma mater, I just went at it. You know, I have to give a lot of credit to Dave Kane, you know, my play-by-play guy at the time, because you know, Dave showed me the ropes. You know, the first years were hard because when you're not seeing good football and you played there and you're used to playing good football and then you're not seeing it, you know, it's hard to just be positive, you know. And so Dave kind of showed me the art of, you know, not beating down our squad or beating down the coaches or beating down the referees and just, you know, and just walking the fine line. And so, I got pretty good at doing that, but I also made sure that I kept it a buck. You know, I was going to call it like I see it, because I wanted, you know, he was just like always, he said, you're on the radio. He said, I want you to give the picture, you know, so that people are listening to the radio and it's like they're watching TV, you know. And so that's what I tried to do. And I enjoyed that part, and I appreciate that fans loved the way I went about it. You know, they knew that they were going to learn something because I was going to teach them about things. I was going to talk about it and teach you why it was and what it meant. And, but I was also going to call it like I see it. If it stunk, I was going to tell you it stunk, but I'm going to praise my guys, or, you know, if the opponent's doing something and they've got a number, I got to show love to the opponent. Although, you know, I'm orange and blue, you know, to the bone. You know, but you know, but I hope the fans always appreciated that, you know, at the way I went about it.
Absolutely. So when you started back then, it was under Coach Mike London, and evolving while you were calling games. It was also Bronco Mendenhall, and towards the end, Tony Elliott. Can you talk a little bit about all three of those guys and your impressions of them?
Yeah, so I was very close to Coach London, very close to him, still close to him to this day. Care care about him, have always cared about him, um, and wanted him to be successful. So I'm so proud of how he was able to impart wisdom upon these young men, because it's bigger than sport. And he and I always connected so much on trying to help these kids to get through this beautiful thing called life, helping them on the field, but helping them equally off the field, because you're going to be off the field way more years than you are on it. And so it was important to me, and important to him, to always make sure that we were pouring into these young men. So he's somebody that I love dearly. Bronco Mendenhall, different kind of relationship, not very close to him. I think he started to open up a little bit, in the latter years, because I think he saw me as more of media than as a former player. And so I don't think we had, we ever had that super, super tight relationship like I had with Mike. But he did some good things for the university. He shifted the culture a little bit. I hate that he quit, at the end, and I hate how he left the program. But there were a lot of reasons for that, that I won't get into. I'll keep those to myself. But some people have a lot of love for him. To me, he's a quitter, and he quit on those kids, and he quit on the program. And I think if you're not being successful, you're asked to upgrade certain areas. You got to upgrade if it's not working, and if you're not willing to do that, then maybe you should step down. But it's about how you do it, and I just don't feel it was handled well.
Yeah. All right, gotcha. What about Coach Elliott?
Coach Elliott, when he first came on board, I got a meeting with him, sat down, and asked him, what were his impressions, what was his vision, and how could I help? And I really liked him from the start. I really liked the conversations that we had. He's very passionate, a younger guy. I think that first year he had some growing pains. And I think he owned some of them. And I mean, it's very different when you're wearing the big whistle, as opposed to being the assistant. And I think he had to go through those growing pains. I think he was so used to the Clemson way, and Virginia's not Clemson, and how we go about the business of things, the support, the dollars, being poured into the program. All of those things mattered. And I think some of the ways that he went about it in that first year, it just didn't work. And I think, and then to have the tragedy happen in the midst of all of it, I think he did a very good job of holding the guys together. I know there were some fits and starts of disagreements, in certain areas, with players and coaches, but that's normal. I mean, there's no script, for three of your teammates getting killed, on a campus trip. And so to be able to balance that, I think he did a great job of just balancing and handling something where there wasn't a playbook, with it, that to go along, or manual to go along with it. And so I was very proud of a lot of the ways that he handled it. Carla Williams, though, is I'm a fan, and
yes, absolutely.
I am so proud of her. I want her to be successful, and she's a jewel, so we need to protect her at all costs, and she gets it, coming from Georgia, understanding the importance of football and pouring money into football, because as much as everyone loves the national championships and all these Olympic sports and non-revenue sports, they don't happen without if you're not going to fund football. You know,
Right.
football is the one that funds it, and she understood that coming from Georgia, and so it was, you know, for her, I am such a fan of hers and want her to win. I told her, I said, when you had the press conference for Tony Elliott and you two guys fist bumped, I said, man, I want those guys to be successful, you know, and that's the case. I still want Tony to be successful too. I'm intrigued this year because, you know, I think there is a lot of pressure on him this year. You know, you got to get it right. I like the pieces that they brought on board. It's, you know, I think they're doing it the right way in some areas. Recruiting, I wish would shift a little bit, but that's just my personal opinion. You know, I think you have such a vast UVA alumni, especially in Virginia, and you know, kids, you know, like the Quinn Blandings, the Smokes, the Eli Harrells, you know, Hawk, all those guys that are from that 757, 804 area, you know, these young kids know them and idolize them, you know, and so tapping into that a little bit more, getting to these kids when they're young. You know, I just remember, you know, coaches being there at Pop Warner when those kids were 8th grade, you know, just being in the mix. And, you know, I think as alums, we like to reach out when we know about talent. Of course, we want that talent, legacies. We want them to come to UVA. And, you know, I think they judge them a little bit, you know, like, oh, we don't offer when they're super young, they need to come to camp. And, you know, I mean, that's the way Clemson did it. UVA can't afford to do it that way. And this is my opinion now. And then if you got kids that are 9th or 10th grade that are absolute dogs, and you have alumni that kind of are close to them, yeah, you know, we can help, you know, and I think we all want to help. And that was one of the big things that he wanted from me, is to get the alumni back. And I did. I tried, and he saw it. And, you know, he and I always had that kind of relationship. You know, I felt like I could lean in, talk to him. You know, I text him after every game, you know, good, bad, or indifferent, and, you know, shooting him encouragement, because I want him to be successful. You know, not only as a coach, but as a Black head coach too, you know, and want, you know, those opportunities don't happen for us a lot. So of course I want him to be successful in the worst kind of way. You know, and he's taken time. When my daughter was just trying to determine where she was going to go to college, you know, he took the time to talk with her and, you know, give her some insight. And, you know, Carla did the same thing. And, you know, so I appreciate things like that. And I'm always going to cheer for you and pour in when needed, because you poured into my seed when you didn't necessarily have to do it.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I might know the answer to this, but what season do you think you had the most fun calling games? And do you have a favorite call?
You already know which call it is. It's got to be the year that we went to the Orange Bowl and the fumble in the end zone, and I went crazy.
So Tony, you won't know this,
I love
but
hearing it.
We had a show intro with that call that was on the intro.
Of course, copyright stuff, you know, we can't keep using it.
We had to remove it, but that was actually in our intro video for our entire show, not just like one episode, for the entire show.
Love it.
And Jack and I, we were at the game, and we were on the field when the game ended. And my other son, we went down the hill and about busted our tails because it was all muddy and everything else. We didn't care, man. We were so happy we didn't know what to do.
Yeah, I wanted to jump out of the booth myself, so I get it. I get it.
It's the only time I've witnessed UVA beat Virginia Tech in football in my lifetime. So put that in perspective.
That's so tragic. Oh God,
yes. I know it's rough, but you know.
You don't even want to hear the joke. We didn't even realize it was a joke, but it's actually true. we've got as many national championships in basketball in Jack's life as we do wins against Tech in football.
Oh,
That was brutal to actually
That's
come
brutal.
to the realization that is actually true.
brutal,
But
brutal, just brutal.
yeah,
So,
Hopefully the tide will
maybe the
turn
tides
for
are
us.
turning. Yep, I really hope so.
Look, I hope so. But Tech is retooling too,
They
man.
have.
You
Yeah.
know, they're retooling, and it's just a matter of time. And so, I think there's been so many years that Virginia had better talent. But I think it's just a psychological thing. Something happens, coaches get shook, and just lose their mind. I mean, I can think of, in the Mendenhall era, just so many games that the coaches just lost their minds, and I was just like, well, what in the world, I sit in the booth and I just sit there, just with a blank stare, like, what the hell just happened, and yeah, man, it's been rough. It's been rough.
Yeah.
Hey, I got one win in 12 years, so hey.
Yeah, I tell you, I'd love for it to get back to the time when you were playing, when the rivalry really means something too. Because both teams are on the rise, I think, and in a couple of years, hopefully, it'll be a really meaningful matchup for years to come. But Dad, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. Well, so outside of the coaching staff, I think you probably know as much or more about the upcoming UVA team as anyone. Who do you think is going to take the first snap under center this fall?
Whew. Man, that's a tough one. I mean, that is really tough. I think, so let's roll back to 2023. If Tony Muskett doesn't get hurt, do we ever even see,
Right.
Yeah.
AC? Do we ever even see him? But the fact that he couldn't stay healthy, you allowed AC to come in, and as incredible and the big plays that he was making. I mean, he's a gamer. At the beginning of the season, we still weren't winning because he was young and still making mistakes. It was a big splash play, and then it would be something that canceled it out. And when Tony came back and then got hurt again, what impressed me so much was AC went back to the lab during that period of time. He kept working, he kept grinding, and he grew up. And when he came back, he still made those incredible plays, but he didn't make the plays where he tried to do too much, and he took what they gave him, and still he could make a splash play, but still take what they give him. And so he wasn't making the big mistakes, and you saw the difference in the wins and losses. And so, that's still fresh in my mind. So I think we are in for one hell of a quarterback battle this summer. And hey, to the victor go the spoils.
Oh yeah. Who would you label as your best pick to have a breakout season?
Xavier Brown and Cedarian Harrison, both.
Okay. I like that. We've talked about Cedarian quite a bit. He flashed quite a bit.
Yes.
What does have to do to improve, especially finishing game?
I think you're going to. Everything really is about the offensive line. I mean, it just the big uglies in the paint matter. They always have. We can't seem to, I think we go into camp banged up on the O-line. We leave camp banged up on the O-line, and then we're trying to get through a season with not a lot of depth on the O-line. You got guys playing out of position. It just doesn't work, and my hope is that they got stronger in the offseason, because in the middle, we struggled, Stevens came in and just did yeoman's work. Not really having played center that much in his career, and just to be able to come in and settle things down and anchor things, that was huge for Virginia. And so he's going to have to do it again. He is the anchor of that line. So who will emerge? Will Bowley be able to remain healthy? Because he's out there banged up trying to get it done, and it's hard when you're not healthy. So yeah, you're talking about how do we finish games? Well, we finish it because when you have an offensive line, you got to be able to run the football. You have to. There's a physical nature that has to happen to close games out, and we have not had that, and so we've been dictated to instead of us dictating at the end of games, and we just haven't been able to close them out.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, year's team.
Say again. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you were breaking up.
In your opinion, what is a realistic ceiling and floor? Jay, can you ask the question? I'm struggling.
Oh yeah. So, what's a realistic ceiling and a realistic floor for this year's team coming up?
Whew, tough question. I really it matters how we come out of camp with that offensive line. I mean, I think that it matters. That is going to make or break the season there. The health of the offensive line and the depth of the offensive line, as we move forward, because you can have two good quarterbacks, you can have some skill at receiver, but if you don't have time to get the ball to them, you don't have you don't have anything. You might as well not have skill. You've got some capable running backs. You got to be able to have a mix of them so you're not putting yourself in predictive situations, and then defensively, playable depth in the secondary will be extremely important. You need a first and second string corner at both positions. You need a couple of nickels. You need. I think you've got some veteran leadership. At the safety, they've got to get pressure on the quarterback. I mean, 9 sacks in 12 games. That ain't good. that ain't good at all.
Right.
And so I think there's going to. I mean, I think there'll be some challenges, but I'm excited at the potential. I really am excited at the potential. I mean, I think going to a bowl game is very, very realistic. Yeah, and then it's just a matter of, okay, how does the ACC schedule break down? I mean, with the new additions, what does it look like? What kind of team does Coastal Carolina have, or I mean, and just as we break it all down, what does it look like? Is Wake Forest, are they going to make an adjustment to losing their guy? They struggled at the quarterback position last year. They struggled. Like I said, what does Maryland bring to the table? They'll be tough. How do they replace their quarterback who did everything for them, Tagovailoa? And then Louisville will be tough. They've got talent. They're well coached. Then you got to deal with Clemson. What is their transition? What does that look like? Carolina, they always have talent. What happens? How do they move? Pitt. Yeah, Pitt's always it's always a slugfest with Pitt. How do we respond to that? Then you got Notre Dame. Then what will SMU look like coming in?
Right.
And then you're at Tech. So it could be bowl worthy, or it could get ugly.
I sure hope we're not sitting in November going to Blacksburg with 5 wins.
Oh, please no. Please no. Please no.
Yeah. What do you think went wrong in that game last year? I mean, we were really excited going into that game, and I think we all thought we had a realistic shot, and even if we lost, it would be a competitive game, and it just was a nightmare. From the start to finish.
Yeah, it just that was a tough game to watch, because we were just out of it, and we just, that game was so disappointing, to watch, because you're looking at it and you're saying, what the hell is going on? It was like we didn't want to be there.
Right.
And I haven't seen that much, and it's hard to say, guys quit, but they didn't even start,
Mhm.
and so you had to watch it, and you're like, oh my gosh, please make it stop,
Yeah.
and if you're Tech, you're just gonna keep going, and at that point, Virginia lost confidence, and so
Yeah.
guys started playing scared,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna get beat, I'm gonna play way off, or I'm not gonna. I mean, it was just a comedy of errors, and that's one of those you burn the tape and just there's no purpose in showing it.
And
Yeah.
another frustrating thing on that was when the game ended and then Virginia Tech took a team picture in the middle of our field. It just burns me up. God
Yeah,
bless it.
yeah, and that's hard for me. That's
So,
hard for
yeah.
me.
I
It
just
really
really
is.
wanted somebody to come out the locker room and just take somebody out. Like
Yeah.
they can't do that out here.
Yeah, yeah. I
so
mean, the year before, they're smoking cigars on the field. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
but at the end, would we ever do anything like that at Tech? No,
No.
we
mm-mm,
wouldn't. That's
no
just
question.
not how we're built,
Right.
But we hence we need some dogs on the
That's a
squad.
Yeah.
that's
Let's be
exact. I
clear.
agree.
Let's
Yep.
be clear. I don't think we have enough dogs. And Ray Roberts and I talk about this a lot. He's like, imagine somebody doing that when we were there. First of all, they
Right.
wouldn't even had the audacity to try
Right.
it because they
No.
knew how we got down.
Yeah.
But it's just hard to just watch that stuff, man, and just you're secretly wishing somebody would just run out of that locker room and just lay waste to some folks.
Right.
But that's the dog in me
Yeah.
wanting to see that happen.
Yeah.
So do you have any insight on who did the water sprinklers?
That was classic, wasn't it? That was beauty. That was a thing of beauty. But I honestly think that it was a timer thing. It had nothing to
Right.
do with
I
somebody
hate to hear it.
intentionally doing it.
I hate it to be
Yeah.
somebody.
I know. I feel your pain.
Yeah, I'm not sure which Tech loss was worse. The one with the left tackle pass, which was Broncos last game, and losing close because you're driving down. It was almost like we were trying to kill clock before we scored, knowing we were going to score and then just stalled out, or just getting the doors beat off of you. I think probably the closer game, but golly, they were both so frustrating. But,
Yeah, no question. No
But
question.
anyway, unfortunately, the broadcast team got shook up this year, and the ball hawk, Ahmad Hawkins, will be in your previous role as the commentary guy. And while we're big fans of his, we hate that it came at your expense. We're big fans of yours. Any comments on that, or for the Wahoo faithful that we know are going to miss your voice on the call this fall?
Yeah, I mean, I just appreciate the fans. Like I said, man, the ones that have reached out and just love the way that I commentated and will love what they learned from me. I just want to say thank you to all of those folks, and to the folks who would come to the games with their headphones on and
Yep.
want to listen to us as they're watching the game, or the ones that watched it from home and would turn on the radio and mute the TV so they could hear it from us. To me, that lets me know that we were doing it the right way. Felt like we always had a popular broadcast. Don't like the way it ended. It could have been handled way better and more professionally, especially someone who poured himself into the program for 12 years and been loving UVA since I was 18 years old. But I want my guy Ball Hawk to do well. I mean, he's my mentee. Have kind of helped him throughout the process of thing. Hey, this, that, and I mean, he's such a good dude. I mean, he'll always be my brother, and so I want him to win, and I want him to be successful. It was, but like I said, it was just disappointing how it happened, the blindsided nature of it, and just the with no reason. And I think that's the part that I struggle with, is that I still don't know why. Because the only reason I was given was we're making a change, we're going in a different direction. And when I asked what the direction was, they had no idea. And so when I asked for feedback, hey, if I got another opportunity like this, I want to make sure that I put my best foot forward. Could I get some feedback? And the feedback was, yeah, I don't really have any feedback for you. You didn't do anything wrong. We're just going in a different direction. And, that's kind of where it ended. So that's, you guys know as much as I know. But I do want fans to know that, didn't walk away, that's how it went down. And wish if, I'll probably never know the real reason why it happened. But I think it would have been nice, and respectful for someone who's put so much time into the university, since I was 18. I felt like it deserved a little bit more respectful treatment than that, quite honestly. But like I said, I appreciate Dave Kane and everything that he taught me in the day. When he left, I hated to see him go, and that's my dude to the end. Love my broadcast team. I love Dave Stipe when he was there before he dipped to Tech. My guy Vicente, my guy Dylan. And John's a cool dude too. Really lobbied for him to get the job. Felt like we put on a good broadcast. People felt like we've been doing it for years, and it was just camaraderie that we all had. And it's just like when you finish playing sport, you miss the locker room. It's the one thing that you can't assimilate. And no matter what you do, as much as I love to play golf, it'll never assimilate that locker room. And so that broadcast booth, it would kind of became a little bit of a locker room. And so, it's gone. And so you can never assimilate it. But I remember the times, I remember the crew, and I remember the fans always.
Well, we know you're not going to have any trouble finding another opportunity. I almost hope it's like the ACC network, so you can still work some Virginia games, because we're certainly going to miss you on the call, and we're going to be following you moving forward. But are any projects that you would like our listeners to know about that you are working on right now?
Yeah, well, I'm currently the executive director of Bell Ringer, which is a community bike ride that raises money for cancer research for Georgetown Lombardi Comprehensive Cancer Center. So we have a bike ride October 25th, 26th weekend up in the DC area. And it's important that we raise. I lost my last issue, as I told you guys earlier. I lost my mom to cancer at 47 years old. The mother of my kids is a cancer survivor. And so cancer has been in my life a bit. And so Georgetown Lombardi is, one of the best comprehensive cancer centers in the country. There's only 57 out of 1,500 cancer centers that are designated as comprehensive cancer centers by the National Cancer Institute. So the bike ride is very much a community event. I'm, been brought on board to increase the footprint of that. So folks that are willing to get on a bike, raise money, and come out and have a great community ride in October, please, reach out to me. You can check out information at bellringer.org. You guys you always know how to reach out to me. T-Cov is Underdog on Twitter and IG. And then, I Am Underdog will always be jumping off, doing something, mentoring, and started a barbershop series down at UVA that was really focused on, men supporting men a little bit better. So looking to potentially take that off to bigger and better things, because a lot of it has to, do with dealing with the mental health and the struggles that men go through that we don't necessarily talk about, because society says that, we're supposed to, pull up our bootstraps and tuck it down and, not show emotion, or, you can't cry. You got to, and honestly, there's so much catharsis when we are able to share amongst each other. We can help each other by sharing the stories that we go through. So, I'll be around.
Absolutely. Well, we want to thank you again, Tony, for being so generous with your time, and we look forward to seeing what is next for a true Virginia great. Have a great night, Tony.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And we want to thank Tony Covington for coming on and talking with us after all the recent events. He had so many interesting things to say. One of our best interviews, in my opinion. Jay, you have any quick closing thoughts with the interview?
Yeah, I loved every second of talking to him. As a lifelong Virginia fan, he was a big part of my childhood, early days, that 1990 team specifically. And then just all the insight he gave over the last 12 years that he's been around the program. It was really interesting, and really enjoyed talking to him, and love that guy. Wish him nothing but the best.
Dad?
Yep, same. Wish him nothing but the best. That was a super interesting interview. He had lots of great things to say. His insights to working with 3 different coaches, his playing career, and also, his favorite call of all time, that call against Virginia Tech in the fall.
That was awesome.
So it's great stuff. Hopefully we'll probably talk about some of the things he talked about in a future episode. But I thought that was an outstanding interview. Wish him the best.
Absolutely. If you have any thoughts on the interview, drop it in the comment section below. We'd love to hear your thoughts because there was a lot to be digested. A lot of things were said. It was absolutely awesome to talk to you. But other than that, we're going to get ready to wrap this one up. So as always, be sure to follow all the socials on X at Talk UVA Sports, Instagram at _Cavalier_Connection_, Facebook and YouTube at the Cavalier Connection. Any closing thoughts, Dad? Jay?
Go Hoos.
Go Hoos.
Win this baseball.